G'day and welcome back to my workbench. Now, just over a week ago, I reviewed this kit, Amerigo Vespucci, which is it's an old MA kit. They've got Reeboks by Aoshima, and then I have the Lee Reeboks. And as promised, I would start work on it. And now, look what we have here. I've got all the stripes on her. And I went crazy and I've put a wood deck. How about that? So, would you like to see how I accomplished all those things and put all that together on this kit? Because, it's still in pieces. It's only dry fit, so I can pull it all apart and show you all the things that I've done. All right, let's get started. Roll the music. And a big shout out to my patrons and my YouTube members who, without their support, these videos would not be possible. They are an absolute boon. So thank you guys. You are terrific. Now, on with the video. The stripes. Now, to do this, if you watched the last video, you would know that the kit part was black. So you think, oh, no, probably just mask it up, paint white stripes. Well, that usually doesn't kind of work. It has problems, right? It has problems when you try and do that. Basically, you're better off painting it one colour and then masking out. And the rule usually is paint the lighter colour. And because I needed the inside here to be all white so that when the planks went over, they'd be the same colour. Because if I left the black on there and then put my planks on, the colour bleeds through into these little wood veneer planks. So I needed everything white. I didn't need to worry about it in here and in here. But basically I needed that whole deck inside and these sides all to be white. Now the next thing is I needed the portholes all drilled out. So I used my tiny little 0.5mm drill bit and I went through, and luckily the kit had little recesses where every porthole was, so it's very easy to locate those and gently drill through. And I don't usually use an electric tool to do that because I've found they kind of get out of control and squiggle off and cause all kind of problems. This is delicate work, especially at this scale where they're so tiny. You really have to be careful. So I did that. There are some missing. I'll talk about that later. There's some missing portholes here they didn't put in the kit. I've still got some touching up to do on this, but let's get back to the method. So I've painted the whole thing white. Drilled out all my portholes. Now then I mask that up and then I airbrush the black stripes on. And that's how you get them looking as neat and tidy as you can. And if there is any little bit of a splash and wear and tear, it's not that hard. You can basically get in there. It's very easy to touch up. Now I just happen to have in my stash some of these planking sheets from Artwox. So they're called a sailing ship wood deck sticker or something. They've got a funny name. I'll put the exact name on the screen because, you know, if you go looking for wood planks, they don't come up. But they're Artworks and they come in various widths. These are 1.4mm wide planks and they're more suitable for, say, 1/200 scale ships. And I've got them right up to 2mm wide, and you can get them right up to 3mm wide for, you know, much larger scale ships. Now, the way to work it out approximately is if you assume a plank in the real ship is 10 inches wide, and they work quite wide, and then that's a typical size. They can be narrower, they can be wider, but if you assume 10, and then that's 250mm roughly, so, you know, at 1/250th scale, your plank width would need to be 1mm. Okay? So, you know, that's how you basically work it out. Now, these are a bit wide for 1/350 scale, but they don't look too bad on the part. They've come up okay, and they look, to all intents and purposes, like it's planked. But honestly, you probably would want to trim them right down to, well, less than that. Probably about half, about a 0.7. And I had contemplated actually cutting each of them really fine, but these are so little and so hard to work on, that was enough. And once I put a few in, I thought, no, that looks fine. That'll do. I've got the effect I wanted. That will be fine. All right, well, let me now show you how I got these planks onto this ship. I've completed the planking for the quarter deck. It just needs a bit of a trim there on the port side. Now, you may have noticed I've got little things here on my block, and I've done the whole thing on the block because it works like a jig to hold it nice and still and firm so that I can actually push those planks down, because the underneath is lumpy, right? It's got all these things. So I drilled corresponding holes in the block of wood there, and then I also used little bits of styrene just to basically prop it up, and a bit of tape rolled over to be double-sided to fit there. Now, I've already made that side nice and curved. So what I need to do is get that curve and get this all cleaned up is I've used my nippers. And the nippers seem to work so much better along here at just taking off the little stray edges of the planks. And then I take my sanding block and not going up because that'll lift them all, only going down. Give that a bit of a sand, even gently at an angle, not too much. And now I've got a perfectly straight edge along there. And that should fit nicely on the model. Now, I've got all these to sort of cut out yet. So again, nippers on here, that would be the best solution. And the good thing is you can rest the nippers hard up against the actual plastic part. And there you go. That's not a straight edge, that's not too bad. This was a bit tricky to do, but the curves, even the curves cut up nicely when you use the nippers. Because again, you just follow the contour of the plastic. So you're resting it against the plastic. And you're not dragging. The thing is, when you, if you use a knife and you're dragging, you'll pull the planks and they will, they'll often all just come out of whack. So, yeah, that's quite good. And then sanding down, well, you don't sand up because you can lift these. These are so small. It's so fragile. So fragile. But I think the effect's quite lovely. All right, I'll get on and clean up all of that. And then I'll talk a bit more about some of the tricks and techniques with these planks and some of the things I've got planned for the ship. Now, one of the only ways to get those fine little cutouts done, because you can't really get the nippers in here, is to cut as much as you can with a knife by turning it upside down and putting it hard up against the block, and then kind of just tapping, try and remove as much as you can, and then do the final tidy up with a diamond file, again, always just pulling down. And that's tidied up nicely. That whole deck's looking quite good. Very happy with that. Now, some fiddly bits, something to note. The technique I have shown in another video, and I'll put a link up here to the St. Louis. One of the things to make it look more realistic is to get your plank joints nice and staggered. And I've done this as per pretty well the standard method. I've let this section just run as it is because I've got greebles in the way that I couldn't remove. You know, these were basically deck fittings. That's for the mast, and this is a lumpy bit here, and that's another lumpy bit there. You know? They're where they are. So basically those planks are going to be fairly short anyway. Once I got outside of that, I've got long runs. So what I did is I went the maximum length, which is, in this case, 5 centimetres, and then I ran a short piece, and I made that my joining point, which was rather nice. It's level with the mast. And then I would repeat that cut, although a little bit staggered before, just for fitting reasons, 3 planks later. So 3 planks, and then there'll be the little cut. My next one along, I stagger to the one side. All right, so there was my first cut. I stagger, say, forward to basically a quarter plank length. So that's about 2.5 centimetres, or not even that, 1.25 centimetre. And again, that's not repeated till 3 blank planks later. And then there's a join here, which naturally fell from the lengths that I had. So, you know, you should have approximately 2.5 centimetres from there to there. The thing is, the plank lengths were 5 centimetres, and had little short ones of 2.5. And then I've made quarter length, 1.25, as basically where I put my little stagger joints in. So by doing that, they sort of match up, and it just breaks it up. And it's not as regular as, you know, basically cut, space, cut, space, cut, space, which is not how planks are. So you'll find that that's how they are on the sheet. They have that cut, space, but that's not generally how planking is done. It's done through a stagger. So yeah, this one goes forward, and then we go back 2, and then we go forward 3 and then repeat, and the pattern just repeats all the way through. Now all the joins in the middle here, that's the actual natural end from the sheet. So that's a nice end that's got a little bit of a dark mark on it, so they'll show up. And then I've run the waste off and away and cut it away. If you do it the other way around, your join could almost be near invisible, because if you're putting the plank length to plank length and there's none of this little black piece, then basically they'll just join together in one seamless line. So to get the actual accented plank ends, yeah, I've always made sure I'm using the internal bit is the actual join of the sheet. So that works well. Some bits are very fiddly to do, and you have to measure using a device like this, or sometimes it's fairly easy to lay down a long plank, stick it hard against an edge which is square, let it run, then push it down with your fingernail, and then get the knife in and just go cut, and that will give you an exact plank length to fit something. I've had to work around holes, so very carefully work around those. So there's even like one here, I've marked that one there, there's a tiny little mark, but I haven't actually got to drilling it out yet. There it is. So just gently drilling it. I won't make it too big until I actually need to put the part in there. Now there are all of these holes. I haven't done those yet, because basically they're fairly easy to do from the back side. Now the trick here is let those planks sit on there for a while and they really stick hard. And I also make sure they're pushed down nice and flat by using a little metal rule, which just helps any that are kind of bumping up. Just, you know, but be careful, be gentle. These things are so fragile and they'll pop off. But now these are fittings for boats. So I put my finger on the plank on the other side to make sure that I'm not going to push it out, and very gently with no more weight than the actual weight of the bit. Like I'm not pushing so much as just letting it naturally work its way through. And that way also I don't stab myself. I just feel the point come through. And there we go, there's that hole. And then drill it out in earnest from this side where I'm pushing down. So yeah, I'll draw all those out shortly, but there you go, that's that one done. If you miss one, especially if it's one that's like hidden in some plastic, well then you've got a real bugger of a job. You can try sort of tapping your drill until you find it's very weak and you go, oh, it's falling in there, that might be my hole. But really, take note of where all the holes are, and as you go, even if you make little pencil marks as you go, otherwise you can have a bugger of it later on. So I've just got to drill out these, which are for the backstays, and those were for the lifeboat. So I'll drill those out now, and then we'll start putting this thing together. And what you want to do here is make sure nothing is lifted. So everything's about pushing down and rubbing with your nail. Make sure that plank is nice and firm. Once they're back in and this stuff's left to stick overnight, it really holds tight. It then becomes a bit of a bugger to get off. So if I accidentally left any there, like all the ones on my cutting board, they're quite tricky to get off actually, which is good. So you know this will be nice and solid. So that's not looking too bad now. What it's missing though are all the greebles, little mushroom vents and little hatches and what have you. And I removed as many as I needed to just to make the planking interesting. In hindsight, I probably would have removed all of these because planking around there was a devil of a problem because you had two holes. One was offset. That's the one that wasn't on the centre line, which is a bit annoying. So, yeah, trying to plank all around that was a bit of a bugger. Hopefully it'll be hidden by lots of things, so we'll get away with it. The other thing is that it's a good idea to paint everything correct colour. I kind of forgot there's some things that are supposed to be this sort of orangey brown colour, and I haven't done those. I'm hoping most of those are white and they'll be fine. But that's the trick with your planking, is if you paint the things on the deck before you start, then you plank all around them, you'll end up with nice crisp edges, and you don't have to worry about being so perfect with your painting. But I've got a whole lot to add here around the front, and that will be part of the whole bridge assembly. There's lots more to add, and that'll be the next video, because really this one has been a bit late due to all the interruptions during the week, like people wanting me to work for them for money. How dare they? Yes, gets in the way of my doing stuff to the channel. So let's just pop that on here. So I already have those other ones, and let's see what we got. So pop you in, click, click, and click. It'll go ding out. Yeah, that one requires, it does click in, but it'll need gluing to actually stay exactly in place. But look, I think you'd have to agree that effect is infinitely better to painting. It's just not exactly to scale, but it is enough that it is pleasing to the eye. And with all my striping, it's going to look quite nice. I've still got this whole top run here is that orangey colour, so I won't glue the decks in just yet. And anyway, you can't glue them in because of the way the instructions are until you get the mask, so you can run these. You can run the rigging through there. Oh, let's still got the sticky on the back. So yeah, they the stays run up to the mask, which you'll put on before you put them in there, which is kind of weird. And then you hope that everything lines up. But there we go. There we have it. That is how far I have got with the Nippon Maru. I'm quite happy with that result. There's a few things fixed. I noticed there's no portholes around the back here. Needs that. And there's supposed to be a whole lot of brackets. So next time I'll be drilling out the portholes that are supposed around here, touching up the whole thing, putting the orange on, hopefully getting the deck pieces in. We might even get as far as the masts. But it's not a hard kit to put together. I've just kind of made things more complicated by putting a wood deck in, but I think it was well worth it. Alright, well, there you go. That's it. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like, comment, subscribe, all those sort of things. And if you really want to help me out, then please look at YouTube membership or basically become a patron. It really does help me produce these videos. Gives me that little bit extra cash so that I've got freedom to take time off doing contract to do these sort of videos, because they do take a lot of time and a lot of effort. All right, that's enough. Goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.